Darkness often starts as a whisper, a thread of fiction woven into the brittle cloth of reality. It began not with a violent act, but with a promise made in the quiet, desperate corner of two young minds seeking validation from a creature that did not exist. This is the story of two girls, Maya and Elara, whose shared obsession with a fictional internet boogeyman. The silhouette led them down a path of unspeakable betrayal, culminating in an act of calculated brutal violence against their closest friend, Clara. In the placid tree-lined suburbs of Oakwood, where life was supposed to unfold in a predictable sequence of school bells and family dinners, an unseen moral fault line was widening. Maya, the silent architect, held a profound, almost spiritual belief that by offering a sacrifice to the silhouetted dark figure whispered out on obscure digital forms, that would be granted protection and passage to the hidden world of God. Her belief wasn't just childlike fantasy. It was a desperate, psychological need for control in a world she felt powerless to navigate. Elara, prone to anxiety and easily swayed, was the willing, terrified apprentice. She saw the fear in Maya's eyes, but interpreted it as conviction, believing that cooperation was the only way to safeguard her own fragile sense of belonging. The target they chose was Clara, their kind, unsuspecting classmate, a girl whose warmth and normalcy were now seen as obstacles, proof of her unworthiness to enter this imagined shadow realm. The day was planned meticulously, carried out with a horrifying, detached efficiency that belied their age. The woods of Pinewood Park, a place of innocent childhood games, became the designated site of the sacrifice. They lured Clara there under the pretext of a simple hike, promising a secret adventure. The air was cool, the sun dappling through the dense canopy, a deceptively peaceful setting for a violent reckoning. The moment of decision arrived at a forgotten, moss-covered stone bench deep within the trees. Maya produced the knife not hidden, but presented with a kind of solemn, dreadful ceremony. Clara, seeing the glint of steel, the stark, unwavering focus of Maya's eyes, finally understood the gravity of the betrayal. Her initial confusion gave way to a chilling, silent terror. The ensuing violence was swift, born of conviction, and Maya struck first, her movements driven by a terrifying, cold focus. Elara, frozen, then participated, driven by the paralyzing fear of disappointing Maya more deeply, the fear of failing the silhouette, thereby sealing her own doom. They delivered 16 wounds, a pattern of violence intended not just to kill, but to appease an invisible god. But the central, fundamental mistake in their calculation was Clara is still alive. Wounded and bleeding profusely, she somehow managed to crawl away, dragging herself toward the nearest trail, leaving a shocking crimson trail on the forest floor. When a passing cyclist discovered her, barely conscious, but clinging to life, the entire fictional construct of Maya and Elara's world began its inevitable, painful collapse. The investigation that followed shattered the small, quiet community of Oakwood. Detective Alistair Vance, a man known for his calm, methodical demeanor, was assigned the case. He stood in the humid, oppressive air of the crime scene, looking not for a ghost, but for a motive rooted in human darkness. When they apprehended Maya and Elara, hours later, walking calmly along a major highway, their hands still stained by the effort of their terrible act, the girls offered a chilling, immediate explanation. The silhouette demanded it. The interrogations became a study in psychological damage and relative confusion. In the stark, fluorescent light of the interrogation room, Maya sat opposite Vance, her posture rigid, her eyes holding an unnerving vacancy. Her dialogue was controlled, precise, almost rehearsed, detailing their belief in the entity, their fear of its wrath, and the necessity of the sacrifice. Vance used silence, grounded realism, not aggression, to challenge her narrative. It was a crime, Maya, he stated simply, his voice low, heavy with professional gravity. It wasn't a ritual, it was a knife, and a friend bleeding out in the woods. You focused not on the fantasy, but on the tangible, the sharp, cold reality of the knife. The consequence, he watched for the tremor, the subtle shift in her posture that betrayed the human beneath the cold-like debauchery. Elara, interrogated separately, was a storm of barely contained panic. She trembled constantly, her voice a high, thin constantly seeking reassurance that she had fulfilled her obligation to the silhouette, but simultaneously terrified of the real-world authority represented by the police badge. This was where the pressure imbalance was most potent. Detective Vance allowed her fear to surface, gently pulling apart the layers of shared delusion. He didn't mock the fantasy. He simply laid the facts of the betrayal bare, forcing her to confront the image of Clara's suffering. "You held the knife, Elara, not the shadow," he insisted, focusing on weight personal accountability. Her internal conflict became external. The imaginary threat versus the real consequences of justice. The trial that followed was a media circus, a shocking morality play for the digital age. Experts debated the nature of shared delusion, the porous boundary between online fantasy and tangible offline violence, and the ultimate question of whether two children could truly grasp the concept of premeditated murder. The central theme explored was not just the crime itself, but the human that sticks the failure of the adult world to monitor, to intervene, to see the desperation building in the quiet corners of the internet. The girl's parents, consumed by guilt, could only watch as their daughters were reduced to case numbers. They, too, wrestled with accountability, wondering where they missed the sign, the whisper of darkness that predated the violent scream in the woods. Ultimately, the courts, struggling to reconcile the gravity of the act with the immaturity of the actors, found them guilty, but legally insane, sentencing them to decades in a secure mental facility judgment that sought to enforce justice, while acknowledging the deep psychological damage at the heart of the crime. The true drama settled in the aftermath, the agonizing path toward potential redemption. Years later, Maya remained resolute in her conviction, protected by the cold armor of her belief system. But Elara, isolated and forced to confront the solitude of her choice, began to crack. Her internal monologue, once dominated by the fear of the silhouette, began to be replaced by the devastating guilt-ridden image of Clara's face. The price of the betrayal was the total loss of her own moral compass. The shame, the moral pressure, and the irreversible weight of taking life became a reality. The consequence far more terrifying than any fictional monster. The irony was the most painful realization. They sought power and protection and violence, but found only incarceration, guilt, and a complete destruction of their futures. Clara, against all odds, survived the attack. Her path to recovery was long and agonizing, but her survival stood as an unwavering testament to the tenacity of the human spirit and an unintended, final, moral witness against the girl's delusional act. Her eventual public statement, delivered with a quiet dignity years later, was a piercing indictment, not of them, but of the loneliness and disconnection that can breed such darkness. The story of Maya and Elara is a haunting, cautionary tale not just about the dangers of online obsession, but about the profound, irreversible damage caused when we prioritize a fictional obligation over human kindness and empathy. It is a reminder that the shadows we chase often blind us to the real, immediate moral responsibilities we owe to the living, breathing people around us. Their mistake was believing a story could hold more truth than a life. Sometimes, one wrong choice can destroy a lifetime. Learn from their story. Choose kindness. Choose life. This was just the beginning. The most mysterious and shocking crime stories are still ahead. Subscribe to Crime Flare Narratives.